Hi everyone. As you can see, the weather has not improved all that much here in North Carolina. My wife and I are out trying to get another little ride in. We got a little bit of blue sky right there, but it has been raining today. There's more rain forecast, but this is sort of our window right here. And so we're going to try to take advantage of it and get a little ride in. I was looking at some videos this morning and of all the snow that some people are getting across the country, and especially up in north up, I guess, up in Canada area. And I know the weather in some places in the United States is still really good. Here the temperature right now is 75 degrees, which is terrific for, you know, 2 days, 3 days before New Year's Day. And but the weather is going to change. I understand New Year's Day we're going to have a high in the mid-50s. So that'll be more typical for this time of year. North Carolina, recently in the past several years, this time of year we will get down to right down to freezing at night, and then up into the high 40s, low 50s, you know, this time of day, or this time of year, excuse me. But hasn't always been this way. I mentioned before that when I was a kid, growing up here in North Carolina back in the 50s and early 60s, we had enough snow that every kid that I knew at the time had a sled, and we got to use them during the winter. We would get 3, maybe 4 really good snows that stayed on the ground for a good while, and a couple little small ones from time to time. This has not been the case over the last, I'd say 20 years. Because my kids didn't really have sleds of their own. They just used mine, which my father had so kindly held on to. And but they didn't get to use it very much because it didn't snow much. I don't know whether the weather will ever flip back or not to where there's more snow here or not. But for now, I'm appreciating the fact that we don't have a whole lot of snow anymore. But back when I was learning to drive, that was during the period of time when we had snow, and so I know you guys up north will laugh. You know, we always laugh about people from the north that come down to North Carolina and to the south that say, "Oh, well, I know how to drive in the snow." And I'm sure you guys up north laugh about those of us down here who get out, and like Atlanta was totally locked down for a whole day just because of an inch of snow last year. But there are those of us who have grown up with it and know how to drive in it, and I pretty much know how to drive in it. I got my start from my dad. My dad always wanted to have a Jeep, and these are the old Jeeps, you know, the little short body Jeeps. He had an old military Jeep when I was real little, but a surplus, and but then he got just a civilian Jeep. He always got them in red and white after his alma mater, which was NC State University, and the Wolfpack. And anyway, so he always had he'd get a red Jeep with a white top on it and all that, and that's what I learned to drive in with him. Well, one time before I was driving, my dad and I were going to church one Sunday morning, and it had snowed the night before. Not a lot of snow, but a little bit. And we were cutting back through the neighborhood, and Dad popped over the hill, and he looked left and he looked right, and he said, "Watch this." And he whipped the wheel, and we did about 3 360s down through the intersection, just spinning like a top. And I probably was 13 years old. I was thrilled. I thought that was the coolest thing. And he just smiled at me. Now, my dad was very straight-laced. He had a good sense of humor, but he was always, you know, 99% of the time he was serious, and he wasn't always joking and, you know, goofing off with you. But he had a sense of humor. Every now and then he'd pull a good one like that, and that made him all the more special when you were there, when he let his hair down, so to speak. But anyway, so I learned how to drive in the snow. I actually, when I got old enough to get my license, my friends and I would go out, and we had this big heavy snatch rope, which I still have, big nylon long rope. And we would go out, and on a snow day when school was out, canceled because of snow, we'd go out and make some money pulling people out of the ditch. If you got any good stories in the snow, I was trying to think of some that I had, but my wreck, I guess, was the biggest one there. Oh yeah, let me tell you about this one. I had up until, oh, I don't know, 15 years ago, I had a Jeep pickup truck. It was an old, I think they called it a J10 pickup truck, and I bought it from a guy, and it was not one of these lifted ones, you know, that didn't have the lift kit on it, but it had big tires, big grippy, gnarly, knobby tires on it, and it had a lot of rust, and it was he had got hung up on a stump in the woods on it one day, and he just tore the right side of it all to bits. And so, you know, I didn't have to pay a whole lot for it, and I didn't really, you know, I wasn't worried about hitting anything. Well, whenever it would snow, you know, that is what I was driving, and I knew that I could get into work. And so for many a year, of my 35 that were there, many a year I was, wouldn't necessarily be the only one there, but I would be one of the few that made it in. And, you know, stupid man like I am, you know, driving into work on a snow day, how crazy is that? Well, I didn't feel like I had a whole lot to risk. Anyway, we had, hey, how's it going? We had a snow day, and I'm coming in, and what made this snow day a little bit different was we had a little bit of freezing rain with it, a little ice. I'm making my way in, you know, just taking it easy, not slipping, not sliding. Everything's doing great. I mean, this truck went super, right? 4-wheel drive, you know. And I came up over the hill, and there was a little small compact pickup truck that I had caught up to. And I had not ever seen him because of the nature of the road. He was ahead of me, and he was going slower, and I caught up to him. And I mean, seriously, I wasn't going fast at all. I mean, I know how to drive in snow, the ice. And you don't go too fast. You're going too fast, you don't have any options. And so I come up over the crest of this hill, and he has popped over the same crest of the hill, and he has panicked because he sees how slippery and slick the little bit of road we have before it bleeds into the main thoroughfare. And he slammed on his brakes. And so what happened to him immediately, of course, is he went sideways. Now he's blocking both lanes going down this hill, and I'm catching him, and I'm working on my brakes. I'm not sliding the tires. I'm working on my brakes, you know, right up to the limit of where my tires are starting to slide, and I'm still going straight. And so I aimed for the ditch, knowing that I would have no problem getting out of it, the ditch. And you know what always happens, you know, he kept them locked up the whole time, panicking, sideways down the hill the whole way, ends up sliding off into the ditch, the same place that I'm headed. Well, I can't stop any faster, and I thought, well, you know, too bad for him. I'm going to hit him square on with the front of the Jeep rather than try to whip mine sideways so that we hit side to side and really do some serious damage to both of us. Well, I hit him right over his rear tire, and it pretty much tore the bed right off this little pickup truck. It just snapped all the bolts that were holding the bed on and tossed it off to the side. And ended up pushing him down the hill the rest of the way with me. But you know, it's one of those things. But the whole thing about it was, I just didn't go. We had to wait on the cops, and because it was nasty, it took him a long time to get there. By the time he got there, I just wasn't in any mood to go to work, so I turned around and came back home. And I'd say I had to pay for the damage to his truck, and I had to pay a little bit. I had to put a new headlight on mine. That's all it really damaged, was a headlight. What it cost me that one day to try to go into work was more than I made in every single snow day that I ever made. More than the money I made on every single snow day added up together. Because as a commission salesman, I don't make anything if people don't come in to buy anything, and pretty much on snow days, those were just days to do some cleaning up and make some phone calls and things like that. Nobody ever came in to buy anything. But you got any good snow stories? I'd love to hear them. Again, hope you guys are having a great time. Please don't hate me because I've got 75-degree weather and a little bit of sun right now. It has been raining here non-stop. Okie doke. Well, you guys take care. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.